Hey, 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 it's AAA Wednesday, which is my weekly Q&A session where I'm popping into the comments and responding to questions you've left me about writing, editing, publishing, and everything in between. I feel like we're finally enjoying some nice spring weather, and I honestly feel like a new person. I hope you're getting some sunshine and warmth wherever you are, and that it's rejuvenating your energy and your writing. Just 2 pieces of housekeeping before we get into the questions. Number 1, if you like my Q&A sessions and want me to keep doing them, give me a thumbs up. It really helps out my channel a lot. Number 2, if you're new here, welcome. Please consider subscribing if you're an aspiring author hoping to get your book published one day. I have tons and tons of resources for you. In addition to these Q&As, I also do deeper dives into the publishing industry and specific writing techniques to apply to your work in progress. If that sounds good, just hit that subscribe button and you won't miss out on my next videos. We have some great questions today, so let's dive in. My question is about my fear, running out of literary agents. Is this something that might happen? Can I resubmit to the same agency but a different agent? If you're worried about running out of agents to query, know that agents open and close to submissions on their own rate all the time. So when you started querying, it's likely that some agents were closed to submissions and they may now be open to submissions and offer you another agent that you can reach out to. So I recommend periodically checking Query Tracker or whatever other query database you are using, as well as the agent's website, to see if they are now open to queries when maybe they weren't before. Also, many agencies have a policy where they will allow you to query a different agent at that same agency if one rejects you, or some even allow you to query multiple agents at the same time. So go back to the agencies that you've already queried and look at their guidelines on their website and see if they would allow you to query a different agent now, especially if you've already gotten a rejection from the other agent. That should give you some more agents in the mix. Also, there are always newer agents up and coming. So if there's an agency that you really, really like, go ahead and look at their lower level agents who are maybe just now starting to build their own list. They might have a title like assistant agent or associate agent. They may be a really good fit and still have the support of the broader agency. Here's the next question. I am a couple steps away from querying for my first time with my YA portal fantasy novel. I have already written my query letter and I am happy with every part of it, except for the comps. I have found a few narratives in my same genre as possible comps, but most of them are older, 5 to 6 years old, and perfectly compared to my book. However, I am afraid that using the older comps that just feel right for my novel might turn off literary agents. Should I settle for newer comps that don't represent my story as much, or use the older ones that better compare? If you find a perfect comp title, but it is just outside the 5-year window that we like to use for comps, I wouldn't totally write it off just yet, especially if it really is a perfect comp. If it is really just on the cusp of being too old, that's not as problematic as you using a book written in 1920 or 1970 even. What I would recommend doing in this situation is pairing that comp title that you think is a great fit but is a bit older with a more recently published title that is maybe not as quite of a good fit, but still shares some similarities to your book. That way, you're really getting the best of both worlds. You have a comp that is very similar in terms of theme or plot to yours, as well as a comp that is newer, reflecting current reader appetite for your book. And marrying those two together could be a good strategy. Here's the next question. 3 people have read my first draft and all given the same feedback. They say they would like to see more detail included in the narrative to slow it down. I was conscious of keeping the pace up so as to not bore people, but I get it. Is the reverse outline a good way to remedy this, or is there another technique that would work better? I love the reverse outline as a resource for the revision process because it really does allow you to do so much with the manuscript, including nail your pacing. If you're concerned that you're moving too quickly through consequential moments, then I recommend turning to your reverse outline and highlighting or flagging in some way those scenes that are really momentous to your protagonist's character arc. Where are those moments where they are really reckoning with their internal and external conflict? What are those moments where the suspense is high and the stakes are even higher? What are those moments that you want to emotionally affect the reader? Highlight those in the reverse outline, then turn back to the manuscript where they happen and see how much page time you're spending on those specific scenes. Are we breezing through them in just 1 to 2 pages? Or at worst case, are those scenes not even in the manuscript but told in summary or flashback? Make sure that they are given adequate attention on the page and that you're filling out that scene with enough physical detail so the reader truly feels immersed in the moment with the characters. You don't want to slow down the pace of the scene unnecessarily, but you should have enough detail there to allow the reader to place themselves in that moment in the character's perspective. So have us see what they see, hear what they hear, smell what they smell, and feel the way that they feel in that moment. In certain dramatic confrontations, also, writers can tend to divert to a lot of dialogue, but not show us what's happening on the stage, so to speak, with the characters, including their choreography, their tones of voice shifting, the gestures they're making. So if you have a dramatic moment that is a confrontation with a lot of dialogue, definitely go back to that exchange and make sure you're sprinkling in enough physicality and illuminating enough of the POV character's emotional landscape for us to really follow all the aspects of that scene and feel totally immersed in it. If you're enjoying my Q&A sessions, I have great news. You can get so many more of my tips and insights delivered straight to your inbox just by signing up to my newsletter, chapter-break.com. As a bonus for signing up, you will get my story self-assessment worksheet, which is a quiz I designed to help you look at your manuscript from a new perspective and see how you could improve it on the next draft. In my newsletter content, you will get exclusive interviews with literary agents and best-selling authors, and they're giving some amazing tips and insights I don't want you to miss out on. The link to download your story self-assessment worksheet and check out Chapter Break are in the description. We have time for one more question today, which isn't quite a question, but something I wanted to bring to everyone's attention. FYI, reference your last video about authors' equity changing the publishing industry. I've reached out to them, and Madeline and others are, quote, overwhelmed by the enthusiastic response we've received. As a very small team, we can't respond to everyone individually, but I wanted to provide some context and address some common questions. Regarding submissions, at this stage, we require authors to have agency representation. While we've seen some interesting concepts come through, our goal is to offer authors a focused hands-on approach. This means remaining boutique in scale and being selective about the projects we take on. They are too busy now and being bombarded by writers and narrowing the field by only talking with agents. I did a video a few weeks back about the announcement of authors' equity from several Big Five veterans creating this new publishing house called Authors Equity that claims to operate on a totally different financial model than the Big Five. And this author reached out to them to see what they were doing in terms of submissions, and this was their response. It sounds like to me that Authors Equity has some things already in the works, and it doesn't seem like they are open to general submissions because they are such a small team. So I think going forward, we'll just have to keep an eye on Authors Equity. I know I'm super curious to see how all of this pans out and see if they announce any deals in the coming months. I would be super curious to see what types of authors and what types of books they're interested in taking on. But it sounds like for right now, at least, authors cannot submit directly to them. Thanks so much to everyone who submitted a question. If you have something you'd like to ask, drop it in the comments here and it will be added to my queue for my next session. Before you head out, don't forget your free story self-assessment worksheet and go ahead and check out Chapter Break. Those links are in the description, and hit that thumbs up to let me know you're enjoying these sessions. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on my next video. Thanks so much for watching and happy writing.